Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.
A Great Bend native says it's sad to think so many he served with in Vietnam have already passed away.
As Gwen Bevel and photojournalist Nick Kiefer show us, he says the men got each other through a very trying time.
Ed Archer says the worst part was being away from his mom and dad for the first time. He'd also never flown on an airplane or taken a bus ride. That was until he boarded both as a member of the U.S. Army.
It made a man out of me, I guarantee you that. The helicopter.
Ed Archer says when he looks back to his time in Vietnam, he first thinks about what he and his fellow soldiers went through.
Most of the time we ate sea rations and we stayed out in the bush for a long time. Then every once in a while they bring us in for a little getaway.
Archer says while out in the bush, rodents were everywhere.
We were all in this big old bunker sleeping down there, and a big old rat fell on while he was sleeping, and he was screaming and yelling.
He says the monsoons were challenging as well.
Their bunkers, they're just a round metal deal with sandbags on top of them.
And he says one night he even woke up and water was flowing through.
Took my steel pot, put it underneath my head, and went back to sleep.
Archer says they were battling far more than nature, and although the enemy didn't ambush them too often, they were always on the lookout for booby traps.
I had a lot of friends. I had a friend killed by a booby trap and a lot of them injured.
And when there were injuries or casualties, Archer was part of a mobile unit that would go wherever it was needed.
If they needed some security up at the DMZ, we went up there, and then if they needed a security or something down to Laos, we went down to Laos and guarded the bridge for many weeks while they evacuated Laos when they got out of there.
Archer says it was years after his time overseas that he went for a checkup at the VA.
And I seen these volunteers walking around. I looked around. That's a good thing. I think that's what I'll do.
He signed up to volunteer at the VA and says the more time he spent there, the more he thought about his battle buddies. So that's when he started looking for them and organized a reunion right here in Kansas.
We haven't seen each other since then. I mean, it was just like they're the same people, same, everything. It was friendly as all get out.
Archer says you would have never known the group, mostly drafted from small towns, hadn't seen each other in nearly 50 years. Archer says the reunion here was actually the third one. He says when they were over in Vietnam, they all wrote their names down on a piece of paper. One of the soldiers then mailed it home to his mother. Many years would go by, though, before that sheet of paper surfaced again. The idea to write all their names down was what brought them back together decades after they served. Here for you, Gwen Bevel, KSN News 3.
Tonight we salute Ed Archer for his service in Vietnam.
The Devon James Injury Lawyers here, and we're proud to stand next to Corporal Ed Archer, who served our country during Vietnam in the U.S. Army Infantry. On behalf of all of Kansas, thank you for your service.
I want to thank all my veteran buddies, welcome them home, and thanks to KSN and Devon James.
Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.